This is exactly what I'm talking about. If this email would have been from Trump to someone else, I am telling you right now, I would have yanked my support from him forever. Okay. That is how abhorrent I think that this email is right here. So when this video is over, you make sure you go look this person up and then put it in your brain bank that he wrote this to of all people. Now, normally I put a teaser at the beginning of these videos, something that's like, stick with it because this is what we're going to cover later. I'm just going to tell you right now, I did an exorbitant amount of research today, and I'm telling you, I know exactly what those emails are referencing. I dug up things that happened in 2011 that were these were the cause of the emails that went back and forth between Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. I know exactly what they're talking about, and I have more. I promise you, I will have the most insight into these exchanges over anyone else on YouTube that could have gotten this together in this amount of time. So if you stick to the end of this video, you will have an absolutely crystal clear view of what is actually going on in this email dump, why they did it, why they redacted certain things, what prompted these emails for real, why they came out at the times that they did, and whether there is anything to look at here in terms of his culpability. So stick with it, and I appreciate you guys, and enjoy. Oh, and feel free to forward this video to any of your friends or clip it if you want. I have no problem with anybody clipping my stuff and then using it for reels of your own. Send it to your friends. As long as the clips are 3 minutes or less and you put a link to my YouTube channel, use it as much as you want. By the way, whoever's building those TikToks of just my content, you need to hit me up. I'm not mad, okay? I have a job for you, okay? So whoever's building all those TikToks of me, hit me up, realjesseonfire@gmail.com. I am expecting lots of people to want to hear a defense of Donald Trump. And guess what? You're probably going to hear a lot of things that you want to hear in this video. And at the same time, the people who hate Donald Trump, you're probably going to hear some things that I'm going to point out that you're going to be like, yes. And you want to know why? Is because I will always tell you what I actually think. I have no blind allegiance to anyone in any direction. And that is, I hope, why people watch my content, because I have to give you my, my integrity is more important than any other thing. And so even if I think it's going to make people mad, I will always tell you what I actually believe. Now, in this case, you're going to see it from both sides, because there's a way to look at this where it's like Trump is acting extremely guilty, right? And I'll tell you, or even in advance, before we get to that section, the way he's behaving about the vote to release the Epstein files is like, I don't even know how else to like present it other than to say he looks like a guy who has crumbs of cookies all over his body. And he's going to his mom. He's all, my brother stole the cookies, not me. It's like, oh, is that right? That's how he's behaving. But on these particular emails, the closer that you look at them, the less damning it looks to me. And it actually supports a lot of things that Trump has said previously. And you have to ask yourself why these are the only emails that they released. And we'll talk about that as well. All right. So we're going to get into it right this second. We're going to look at his response afterwards. Okay. So obviously, this is how it's being presented by the people who are excited to see Trump go down for this, right? I guess we know why Trump, Bondi, Patel, and Mike Johnson have been covering up the Epstein files. I'm sure there is a whole lot more and a whole lot worse. Okay, so real quick, the response to that would be, if there is stuff that's worse, why didn't they put that out? They put out 3 emails that came over an 8-year period, okay? And as we're going to see from the emails that have been put out, they look bad at first glance, and they might be bad. But that's my initial question, because bottom line is, okay, if you are an objective person, you know that anything that is put out that is going to affect the opposing party negatively is being done intentionally, and they're going to paint the picture that makes them look as bad as possible. Okay, and so you have to ask, you're like, okay, well, why do they choose these 3 emails over an 8-year period? Okay, because these on their own may look bad if you just are inferring things, but there is not anything that is directly said in these. And so why do they choose these? And if there is much worse, then why didn't they put that out? And at the same time, why is Trump threatening Republicans who might vote to release all of the Epstein files if there's not anything worse in there that would indicate him or implicate him? Okay, very easily could be because, you know, Israel is pushing on him, and they're like, hey, you like this Gaza deal, right? How do you think we're getting this thing done and this thing done? It's because we've got compromising information on this guy. The Epstein files comes out, that all goes away. Maybe your deal goes away. Could be that, or it could be the worst case scenario. There's no way to know. But again, this is where we analyze things objectively. Why would they not put it out if it's worse? This is the first email we're going to look at. Okay, so check this out. This is April 2nd, 2011. This is an email from Ghislaine Maxwell to Jeffrey Epstein. Okay. So the original one was from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell, which says the following: I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. And this victim that's been blocked out is Virginia Giuffre. Okay. We're going to come back to that. Very important. Extremely important that they redacted that. And we're going to show you what the full thing says, because there's a lot of stuff that was left out of these emails. Okay. But it says, Virginia Giuffre spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. Police chief, etc. I'm 75% there. Now, the wording of that is very interesting to me, right? I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Okay. He has never once been mentioned. Police chief, etc. I'm 75% there. So the indication that it sounds like to me is they are speculating about what Trump may have said and to who, right? Now, the only reason that I initially thought is he's speculating, or she's speculating about whether or not he had spoken to police, is because he actually mentions the police chief. And then he says, I'm 75% there. Here's a real serious question that I'm going to answer for you right now. Why were they talking about this right now? And why is it not included in this release? Like, what are they referencing? They're 75% there about what? Okay. Here's the answer. Okay. Look at the date right here. This is 4/2/2011, right? What could have possibly prompted this interaction? And here is your answer. Okay. This is an article. Look right there. March 2nd, 2011. Almost exactly a month prior to them having this conversation is the very first time that Virginia Giuffre goes public in the media. Okay. And this is all about, she reveals that she is Jane Doe 102 in the Epstein case. Okay. And this was all about the first expose of what had, subsequently come out. And honestly, there was a lot in this article where I was like, wow, this level of detail had been out for this long, because it seemed like a lot of stuff came out. And then when they would talk about her later, she was pretty cagey about who she'd seen and who she hadn't, and so on and so forth. And so this is for sure what they're referencing. They're seeing who's been talking, because clearly they have sources. Okay. Who's been talking to who? Because, right? What does she say? She says, he has never once been mentioned. And Virginia spent hours at my house with him, and he's never once been mentioned. Okay. So that in and of itself, right out of the gate, if you read this article and what the context of it is, okay, bottom line, this would indicate that Trump spent time with her, spent time with her. Okay. Because the entire context of this article is about all of the people that she saw, that Epstein would bring in, and she would whatever, I have to talk around this stuff, but whatever you think she was doing with the really powerful people. Now, here is a big problem for the people who are going to be ecstatic at the implication that maybe Trump spent some time with Virginia Giuffre. Okay. So she was with Epstein until late 2022. Okay. So in September 2022, at the age of 19, Giuffre flew to Thailand and attended the International Training Massage School. And Maxwell provided her with tickets, yada, 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 yada. And then that's when she met Robert Giuffre, an Australian martial arts trainer, and the two married thereafter. And that's when she got away. Okay. So she was over 18 for a while. Okay. Like a while. She was born August 9th of 1983. Okay. And she was 19 in September of 2000. So she was with Epstein for 13 months when she was 18 years old. Okay. So even if Trump spent time with her, it doesn't mean that it was a crime. Would it look horrific if it was? You know what I mean? Like, could this explain the entire thing that Trump did in fact partake with Virginia Giuffre? Yeah, that would look terrible, given the fact that, given her history and what she was there for, it looked very, very bad, right? But not only would she have potentially been over 18, okay, and this being the only indication of that, okay, which would be something legal that he did, but we're going to come back to what Virginia Giuffre specifically said about Trump later on, okay? But there's a lot more to this that we're going to cover right now. Right after you like this video, and if you have not subscribed to my channel, you change that right now. welcome to the team. And thank you to everybody who has been liking the videos, forwarding my content, and is already subscribed. I love you guys. And since we are being fair and objective and we are looking at what we can prove and what we can't, you also have to point out that what he said is not directly implicating that he did anything with her, okay? Because you also have to understand that at a certain point, Trump's friendship with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell ended. And this is going to be mentioned in later emails, okay? So at a certain point, Trump ended his friendship with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, according to Trump and according to them. And it was over them pulling people out of Mar-a-Lago, according to Trump. That's literally, that's covered over here. I'll show you that in a little while. And another quick note is everybody has always said that it was in very early 2000s, 2002, 2003, or 2000. Anyway, I don't know exactly what the date is. Somewhere between 2001, 2003, which is exactly when Virginia left them also. And so he has always said that he ended that friendship over them recruiting people out of Mar-a-Lago. And who was recruited out of Mar-a-Lago? Virginia Giuffre. Okay. And now if Virginia Giuffre had never said anything about Trump, or had implicated Trump in any way in anything negative, then that would be one thing. The thing is she is actually on record under oath speaking about Trump. And I'm going to show you the record of her testimony specifically about Trump that we're going to come back to after we look at the other email that is referenced in that. One thing I will show you is that in this article, I'm sure that people are going to be looking for any indicator that maybe, they actually reference Trump. And when they're naming people, it says they included a well-known businessman whose pregnant wife was asleep in the other room. Okay. A well-known scientist, respected liberal politician, and foreign head of state. Okay. That is almost certainly Clinton. Foreign head of state, almost certainly Prime Minister of Israel that we talked about previously. World-renowned scientist, could be any of them. Okay, but well-known businessman whose pregnant wife was asleep in the other room. Okay, well, look at this. Okay, so Trump's children were born in 2006. Let's do it in order, actually. 77, 81, 84, 93, and 2006. There's no kid that matches that timeline because she was way gone by 2006. Okay, so that's not a reference to him whose pregnant wife was asleep. That's just no. Unless there's a pregnancy that did not make it to term, then that's not referencing him. Now, this is in reference to investigators speaking to her when they first contacted her. And they said, investigators are believed to have found a list of men's names on his computer and asked him whether they had, okay. And Epstein pled the fifth, refusing to answer, okay. And this is the case where ultimately he got that incredible sweetheart deal where he had 1 year. He only got 1 year and he got to, come and go as he pleased. He had a wait staff at the prison that he was doing time at. He could go to the island for as long as he wanted. He could go to New York as much as he wanted. He could come and go. He had a staff in the prison. It's the most ridiculous deal ever. Why do you think that is? Probably because of the list of people that he's being asked about. And he's like, I'll keep it quiet, but hey, Bill Clinton, almost certainly someone who's on that list. What do you think you could do about this, about getting me a deal? And he gets the deal from Acosta. And then, so just to put a bow on this email, the final thing, and again, this doesn't necessarily mean that, nothing happened with Trump and Virginia, but in addition to the fact that she never once implicated him ever, her attorney never implicated him once ever in the multiple lawsuits, by the way, that she filed, okay, never implicated, never nothing. Also in her testimony, it says right here, have you ever been in Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein's presence with one another? She says no. Okay. No. Again, could she be covering for him? I guess so. But this is on record. It's obviously relevant to interpreting this email drop. Okay. So now we're moving on to the 2015 exchange between Michael Wolff and Jeffrey Epstein. Okay. Michael Wolff, by the way, has written multiple books about Trump. He presents himself as a really objective journalist. This guy's a piece of, excrement. Okay. This is not a good person. This is a dude who has lost all credibility with me forever. Okay. Because to me, the reason why I am completely willing to throw my support of Trump into a trash can if he pardons Ghislaine Maxwell, or if it turns out that he did partake in any of this, is because anyone who is trading in the currency of hurt little ones is a person I can have no contact with, I can have no support for, I can't have anything that even resembles support for a person who trades in the currency of hurt little ones. And Michael Wolff, in this email, that is exactly what he does. He outs himself as not a journalist, but a person with no scruples who will say whatever he wants to ingratiate himself with potentially the worst people in the world, like he's doing in this email right here. So we're going to keep that in mind as we read this about what this actually says and who is a complete certified piece of human excrement. Okay. I'm trying not to swear because this is going to be, I'm really keeping this inside of the lines here. Okay. So on Tuesday or December 15th, 2015. Okay. Michael Wolff says, I hear CNN is planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in scrum afterwards. And Epstein says, if we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? Okay. So first of all, that right there, troubling to me, because I was under the impression that Trump did not have a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein then. I don't know if that means, honestly, if I'm being objective, most likely I would say that probably means that Israel has a line to Trump, and Epstein can get when he says he probably means is Israeli handlers can get an answer to Trump, but maybe not. Maybe Trump's still in contact with him. But then again, listen to this from Michael Wolff, this scumbag. He says, I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that that potentially generates a positive benefit for you, or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him generating a debt. Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey's a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime. So just to be clear, who's the scumbag in this? You know what I mean? They're like, oh yeah, look at what a POS Trump is. It's like, okay, there's two scumbags in this, and it's these two guys. Okay. We all know that Trump was friends with Epstein. We all know that he flew on the plane. We all know that he has a questionable past with Epstein. Okay. But this email doesn't shed any additional light on that whatsoever, except for the fact that Michael Wolff is scum. Okay. Now, the last one here, this is 2019. Okay. So this says, this is from Epstein to Michael Wolff in 2019. And he says, Virginia Governor Mar-a-Lago, and then blanked out. Okay. Why is that blanked out? Like, why is that blanked out? And then he says, Trump said he asked me to resign. Never a member ever. Of course he knew about the girls as he asked Elaine to stop. Okay. And this one is hilarious. They're like, yeah, see, he knew. And you're like, guys, read it. Okay. Why are they blacking this part out? Okay. And so when he said Trump said he asked me to resign, and then it says was never a member, he's talking about Mar-a-Lago, a member of his country club. 100%. Absolutely no question. That is what he's talking about. He's talking about he wanted him to resign as a member of Mar-a-Lago. Okay. Well, and Epstein's like, that's not true. I was never a member there. So he's not denying that Trump kicked him out. And he's also not denying, and he said, and then he says, of course he knew about the girls as he asked Elaine to stop. And for some reason, the rest of that mess, I mean, unless Epstein is like illiterate, which is totally possible, it doesn't even say what stop is. Because if it says stop procuring girls or whatever, which I think it probably does, then that actually backs up what Trump said about his interactions with Epstein back then. Okay. Like, bottom line, I will tell you, for my opinion, what is going on here. Okay. These email releases are preparatory for the vote to have all of the Epstein files released. That's what this actually is. Okay. That's what they were doing. They picked the 3 emails that they thought made Trump look the absolute worst that they could come up with. This is what they came up with. And then boom. Okay. They drop it and they're like, now everybody vote to release the Epstein files. Okay. Well, boom, they just dropped 20,000 pages of documents from the Epstein estate. Okay. I don't know if that's the entire Epstein files. I have no idea. Okay. I have absolutely no idea. But I will tell you this. Okay. Now we're going to look at Trump's response to all of this, which I find a little bit troubling, to be honest. Okay. Because look, it's like Trump says, this is what Trump said. So he said, the Democrats are trying to bring up the Jeffrey Epstein hoax again because they'll do, okay, stop calling it a hoax, man. There's nothing about the Epstein thing that's a hoax. Stop saying that. Like, seriously, this is like the worst angle ever. Who are you talking to when you call it a hoax? Certainly not your base. There are 0 people in the Trump, like if Trump thinks that like our loyalty to him because we voted for him supersedes our concern about our own children, as an example, because a core tenet of our side is protecting kids. Okay. Like that is a core piece of what our ideology is. And no one is going to dissuade us from that no matter what. Where Trump's like, oh yeah, I could shoot someone in Times Square and I wouldn't lose a single point. It's like, that might be true, but I would challenge you to do, like have the person that you shoot be under 15 and see how that goes. Okay. There are certain principles that are not up for sale. You can't sway us on it. Cannot be done. And this Epstein thing, that's what this falls into. Now, the Democrats, of course, the reason they're so obsessed with this is their core ideology is they despise Trump. That's why they're all in the same party. What do they have in common, dude? Like, what do they have in common? I debated a couple guys last night on Modern Day Debate who used to be, who's like literally they're against abortion. They are literally every single one of their political leanings is all stuff that makes them conservative, but they hate Trump so much that now they're Democrats. Okay. That's the only unifying thing that group over there has. So of course I know why they want to see the Epstein files, because they think Trump's dirty on them. That's why they want them. You want to know why we want them? You want to know why the Republicans, I'm not a Republican, but you want to know why people like me and then also conservatives? Because we care about kids. We care about protecting kids above all other things. And so this line, whoever is feeding him this, if it's him himself, whoever has his ear, he needs to stop calling it a hoax, man. Stop it. Okay, so again, they're bringing it up because they'll do anything at all to deflect on how badly they've done on the shutdown and so many other subjects. Only a very bad or stupid Republican would fall into that trap. The Democrats cost our country $1.5 trillion with their most recent antics of viciously closing our country while at the same time putting many at risk, and they should pay a fair price. There should be no deflections to Epstein or anything else, and any Republicans involved should be focused only on opening up our country and fixing the massive damage caused by the Democrats. Okay, you can do 2 things at once. This is what I'm saying. If you got nothing to hide, just let it come out, man. Let it all come out. Who cares? If you got nothing to hide, let it all come out. Let it all come out. I don't like this nonsense that calling it a hoax, and I don't like the idea that people who want to see it are doing something like disloyal or something. It's like, dude, this has nothing to do with you. Okay, like for our side, this has nothing to do with you. If you happen to be in there, that's a pretty big problem for you, because we are equal opportunity in terms of people who partake in that kind of thing. But if you got nothing to hide, just let it happen. Okay. Now, if you look here though, okay, so like I was saying, Trump says his falling out with Jeffrey Epstein was over spa workers at Mar-a-Lago. Who is that? That's Virginia Giuffre. Okay. That's Virginia Giuffre. So this is literally exactly what Trump said before. This is from months ago, right? And Trump on record says people were taken out of the spa, hired by him. In other words, gone. And other people would come and complain. This guy is taking people from the spa. I didn't know that. And that's when I heard about it. I told him, listen, we don't want you taking our people, whether it was a spa or not a spa. I don't want them taking people. And then not long after that, he did it again. And I said, out of here. Now, I think that this is certainly a watered down version, because he's clearly protecting people related to the entire Epstein thing. It seems like to me. But as it relates to this, look, Trump was also asked if one of the employees taken by Epstein was Virginia Giuffre, who was among those accused in the Epstein, blah, blah, blah. He said, I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people. He stole her. Okay. And by the way, she had no complaints about us. None whatsoever. True. Now, that is basically what we've got for this video. And I just want to bring you back right here. Okay. Because the entire reason that Jeffrey Epstein is the worst is because he was willing to use uh, the innocent ones that all of us are responsible for protecting and turn them into like currency he can use. And you know who else is? Michael Wolff, dude. So that guy is just about on par with. Hey, do you have any doubts about whether if Epstein offered Michael Wolff something to play with, what do you think he would do with that? Probably take the toy, don't you think? Most likely. But as it relates to Trump, look, it is possible. It is certainly. If I said that it was impossible that Trump like had some kind of whatever with Virginia, that would be stupid because who knows if he spent time with Virginia. Certainly that could mean that. But if that is the case, she may have been 18 years old, and clearly the time that she spent with him was pleasant enough that she's protected him this entire time. Like that's just not even up for debate. In the event that he did spend time with her, she very easily could have been 18, and also clearly she thought of him as like a nice person who was not a person who hurts people because she outed all of them and she never once mentioned him and she protected him if he even did. So that's what it is. I'm sure people are going to be disappointed about that, but I did actual research on this. I did real research on what all this stuff meant, and hopefully this paints a very clear picture of what this actually is. But again, I support I want to see all of the Epstein files, all of them. And like I've said a million times, if Trump did anything, like if he did anything to her, if he pardons Ghislaine Maxwell, if he commutes her sentence, if he is implicated for real in any of this stuff, like actual implications, not stuff that's made intentionally to make it look like he was, but real implications, I will throw him to the wolves in 2 seconds. Okay. But that's what we got. I love you guys. Bye-bye. Oh, by the way, for anybody who's wondering why I have such a calm demeanor, yokratom.com is where I buy my bulk kratom. Just something that I'm just going to throw out there. Yokratom.com, $60 kilograms of powder. I stick to powder because that's just what I do. I think anything else is a big danger to people's, likelihood of building a habit. But powder, I'm all in. And I use yokratom.com for $60 kilograms.